welcome back to another fabulous edition of the Innsrgram Twin Amphitheater. I'm your host, Rene Guerrero, and I'm here with...
Sean Manning, of course, the one and only.
I didn't know we had fucking William Shatner here. Anyways, if you haven't figured it out by now, we're going to do this episode
This is our second double-digit episode, guys.
Yeah, well, it's kind of like a milestone that we really didn't figure out that we hit, but we did 10 episodes.
Originally we didn't know if we could go this far.
We didn't even know we can hit 5 episodes.
Yeah, we thought we'd probably
just, I don't know, just say fuck it. And
we'd go into stupefy and just forget how to make them.
But hell, if you've been listening since our first one, The Predator, then we appreciate it.
Yeah, we really do. And hopefully you like our Valentine's Day special. What? Valentine's Day? Wasn't that Thursday? You're damn right it was Thursday.
Yeah.
But you know what? We didn't have dates. So we thought we might just do something entertaining for once.
There is no linear timeline in this fucking in these episodes. But if you haven't figured it out, we are doing this Valentine's themed episode on
The Notebook. Whoa! Did he just say The Notebook? Yes, we did just say The Notebook.
Now, I just want to say Sean puts this movie on a fucking pedestal far beyond anybody's reach. I want to tell you why, because who's in it, Sean?
Look, so everybody has their preferences, I guess, when you like dramas or maybe comedies, action movies. You know, you have your preferences of what your go-to is. Well, my go-to is the main man himself, the Goosebumps man, the Remember the Titans. If you didn't recognize why, yes, Ryan Gosling's in this film once again. Now, I don't really know. What's her name that's also in this film? I always forget her name.
Regina Hall.
Regina Hall's as well in this film.
No, that's not her fucking name.
Damn.
No, that's her
embarrassing
name.
me.
That's her...
Fuck. That was horrible.
I'm sorry, not Regina Hall. Regina George. That's the fucking... That's who she played in Mean Girls. Her name's Kate Upton.
Is it Kate Upton?
Yeah, it's Kate Upton.
I don't believe you.
I don't believe myself either.
It's Rachel McAdams.
I told you it was Rachel McAdams.
No, you didn't.
I told you, Sean.
I was like, whoa.
Okay, so anyways, we've been getting feedback from a couple people, and we're gonna try something new.
We're gonna try to simplify this a little bit for you guys.
We're gonna summarize the movies, and we're gonna talk about important parts that we thought was important. Me and Sean.
So we'll kind of skip through most of the movie.
Yeah.
We're not gonna try to go detail by detail because basically we have been feeling that we've been like a big time narrative for you guys.
Yeah,
and we kind of want to simplify that and make it much easier so that you guys can literally hear what our opinions are more than just exactly what we have been thinking. So, and
most of you know, if you're listening to this episode, you've already seen the movie, so you know what's going on. We're gonna try something new. We're gonna go through it, and we're gonna summarize it the best we can. And then as we're summarizing it, after certain parts of the movie that we summarize, then we'll give our input and things what we thought about it. And from anything from cinematography to acting to even set design, we're gonna talk about it, and it's gonna vary. So,
all right. So the film begins. We get an older gentleman. We're introduced. He's saying that he's basically gonna be forgotten. We're not necessarily sure why he says he's gonna be forgotten. So we're introduced to him. We're also introduced to an older lady who's the older gentleman is reading a book to. It's basically like a journal or some sort of novel. Not too sure. As we go into the story, it's basically he's having a narrative explaining to us about this young two individuals who first met each other. We're introduced to Allie, who is one of our main characters, and we're also introduced to Noah. And in the beginning of the film, we're introduced to both of them, how they first meet. They first meet at a carnival, where I believe, Renee, they are on a Ferris wheel. Yeah, they're on a Ferris wheel.
Yeah, they're on a Ferris wheel.
They're just basically... He is interested in her, and she's not really interested in him. She kind of finds him as a creep, and he doesn't. He wants to know what he's got to do to get a date with her, and she won't let him get a date. So
he does something really crazy and pretty much forces himself onto blindly almost killing himself to get on a date with her.
Yeah, just to basically get a date with her. And it's really weird. It works basically, not really. She doesn't actually end up giving him the date. She rejects him because she thinks he's a creep, but at the same time, she's quite a little bit interested in him. Not too sure. So we go a little bit more later on. We're introduced to basically him and his best friend, which is Noah. Noah and his best friend are going to meet up for a double date with Noah's best friend's girlfriend and her friend that she brought with her, which is Allie. Yeah. And now they're double dating. And basically they hit it off, and they decide to, basically his best friend decides to leave Allie and Noah by themselves to get themselves more acquainted. And so they decide to go on a walk. They go on this walk. They get to know each other a little bit. And there's this really interesting scene, which I thought was pretty... they're basically the street scene, if I'm correct.
Yes, we were there.
Yeah, so we're introduced to this street scene where they're getting to know each other, and they're just basically having that one-on-one discussion that you're having in life, when you get to know each other. And they sit on the street, and he basically is explaining to her the trust and how he wants her to understand the trust between each other. Now, they kind of gaining trust for each other, get to know each other a lot better. They try to understand each other. And from there, we kind of go into an understanding. They're finally going to hit it off. They go into basically like this couple. You see like their highs and their lows, and you're kind of introduced to what kind of relationship they are. They're basically two different kinds of people, but at the same time, they're still seem like they're one of the same person. Yeah. They're both very understanding of each other. Now, because of this, they keep pushing forward, and she's introduced to his side of the family, which is a kind of a middle to lower class, so she hangs out with that kind of side of the family. But at the same time, he's introduced to her side of the family, which at the time was not very accepting of him, or basically more not on the side of, at the time, more like they're just not very accepting of him whatsoever. And it's all just basically come from a conversation where they're asking him about how much his income is, and they were very disappointed to hear how much he was making. So they're basically kind of pushing things forward. They're trying to keep on dating, and at a certain point, you realize that their affection for each other and their attraction is no longer just an attraction. It's actually some sort of spark of love. Yeah, is basically what they introduce.
A force of love.
It's like, a force of love. So you realize these two individuals, Allie and Noah, are just basically in love, and they take it to the next step, which is making love. Yep. So they go to this house where it's kind of interesting because Noah just finds out of nowhere, and it's an abandoned house with with a piano.
What a classy guy!
And he brings her there, and they're kind of It's that first time. I don't know if anybody's been in that situation, but it's basically that first time. Each person's pretty nervous, and they don't really know where this is going to go. But at the same time, this is the moment. And things happen, obviously, and they make love. And it's kind of that point in the movie where you're like, wow, they seem like this is a genuine, this is the relationship that you didn't necessarily expect to happen. Or not necessarily expect to happen, but you just... It's perfect in a sense. Yep. In a sense, it's the perfect situation. Well, with perfect things comes, unfortunately, bad things, and that's where we actually get to the next scene. We're introduced to. So since he went out and took her out, he took her out a little bit too late, and when he took her out a little bit too late, they set the cops after her. Yeah,
they started coming and looking for her. Her parents called the police.
Yeah, her parents called the police, and when her parents called the police, they took her home, and her parents are very angry at him. And this is where you find out that her parents actually are not accepting of him whatsoever. He overhears the conversation and finds out that her father and her mother are just not accepting of him whatsoever. Mm-hmm. They decide that she needs to break it off with him, but she will not give up on him. Allie desperately wants him. And she goes outside to see that he's already left. The thing is that Noah's decided that he realistically believes that in his society and his ways that it's just not going to work out. So unfortunately, it pushes upon to where they break up. even though desperately they just don't want to. Yeah. Their attraction for each other and love for each other is so strong, they just don't want to, but it's heartbreaking and heart-wrenching. And that's actually where we come to the ending of our first half of the film.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is that was the first half of the film. What did you think, Renee?
Oh God. What did I think about everything? You know,
let me make it a little more simplistic. What did you think about that first scene that just basically starts off with basically it's like cinematography. It's all red. They're showing the ocean. They're showing the sun. What did you get coming from that?
The first red scene?
That first red scene.
I am trapped.
I was tripped out by that.
I am trapped. This is how I thought of it. I am trapped in a narrative forced love scene. Or a forced beginning of just love. I guess that's the symbol of red. And as beautiful it is, I kind of didn't gravitate towards it.
Okay.
Not saying that it was bad or anything. It's just I kind of felt off and kind of like, where is this going? In a sense, maybe because it was the kind of non-linear storytelling between the old couple and
did you get that couple. Just from that first image of this movie when you see that first shots
of the man rowing through the boat and then those fucking doves.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, okay, this is gonna be a.
Yeah, I feel like it was showed like a sense of true passion.
Yeah, you can say passion. The way I saw it was just love, just complete beautiful love. I guess the way you say it. And the landscape was beautiful, and then just throwing a red filter on over everything. It's just throwing love in your face. Okay, so that's exactly what I thought about all of that. But yeah.
Okay, that's pretty interesting. Yeah, I thought not necessarily just that. There in certain scenes, it was basically that was like the beginning point of where you kind of recognize that they use cinematography in different aspects in this film to try to show you the attachment they have for each other.
Yeah, this film was made in 2004, by the way.
No, it was made in 2004.
It was made in 2004. I don't know, but in 2004, I think there was a lot of romance films that were being. I think it was like with the introduction of Titanic.
Yeah, I think it's around that time period.
It was made in '99, right? And so like that fucking flood of romance movies came out, and
it's a good way to put it's at a time where cheesy romance films really got over.
Yeah.
And a lot of people were willing to give the opportunity to see something cheesy that liked it.
Yeah.
I don't think, definitely in our time today, that doesn't really work. You know, that cheesy comedy.
I mean, just because we got so much of it in the early 2000s, the 90s, and the 80s.
90s and 80s, definitely.
Yeah, so much. Just a flood of romance movies. We can't even escape. But at this time, romance movies are changing. And they're kind of changing for the better. This movie really does show for it.
It all depends on opinion.
Yeah. But I feel like this movie really does show for it. That romance movies are changing into a more realistic standard.
Okay,
that people can gravitate towards, and that's kind of like what I liked about the first half is that Allie saw something different in Noah. That's how I see it.
I also think it's really interesting about that first half is so that street scene that we discussed earlier, where he basically walks around the street. I like that idea. The two people just walking and talking.
Oh, yeah.
I think a lot of people forget that typically, when things work out, I don't know if maybe this is just me, but when I go on a date or if I meet somebody that I truly like and you get to know them, just that walking down, you don't know if it's downtown or if it's on the beach, or shoot, it might be down your neighborhood, and that, that long walk where you're just basically asking questions to each other and you're getting to know each other. Yeah. That just feels real.
Oh, yeah.
Because we get movies where it's the first love. They look each other in the eyes.
And they're
in love forever. There's passion. And they just can't stop holding each other's hands and kissing. That's not how this works.
And you know what? This movie actually showed me something like that was different. Especially for the time.
Yeah.
Is that they threw all that stuff out and they decided, okay, this is what we're going to do with these characters, and this is how they're going to interact with each other. And they're going to kind of contradict each other there, and not by standards, but by their ideologies. And you know what? No one's wrong in this situation. They just think different. And
I think that's really interesting too. They come from different backgrounds, and they show each other that.
Yeah, they do.
And each of their opinion kind of conflicts with each other, but it doesn't make it. It kind of explains to a certain note that two people that don't necessarily know each other, or two people that come from two different backgrounds, can't necessarily like or enjoy each other's company. And it shows that two different people can truly find each other, and that's kind of really interesting.
Yeah,
and you can see from their passion from that beginning of the film.
And it doesn't matter on like if they're rich or poor. It's just like, you know, love is love.
That's probably my favorite scene in the first half. Is just that street scene, because it feels the most real of basically the first half of the film.
Yeah, you can connect with that more.
I would say that's probably the most connected. What would you say is the most connected?
Well, I can probably relate to that a little bit farther down, but I don't know if you ever been in a situation where you're kind of at where you're the center of attention, and it's just all bad. And none of it's good. That's what I can kind of relate to on that dinner scene, or that brunch.
That's true.
It's just, you're at the center of attention, and none of it is good. All of it points.
Meeting the family for the first time. A lot of people, that's tough for them.
Yeah.
I mean, I've never been.
I mean, it's just like you're trying your best, and nothing is working.
There's nothing you could say you're a world class chef. Yeah. You're top 10 cook in the world, and they'll be like, "Well, cook for me right now, God damn it."
And you're just like, I can make water.
I can boil it for you.
I can boil it. That's as far as you're gonna get. But honestly, I can relate to that. Like, I was at the center of attention. Everyone's looking at me, and they're just like, "Oh no, this is all bad altogether." And it's just like, "Fuck, nah, I'm sorry."
That's really cool. I really didn't even think of that, to be honest. I was just kind of thinking, just that scene probably connected with me the most.
Yeah, where that simple love, simple walking and talking.
So what did you overall get out from the first half, though? What direction do you think it's coming from?
I think that this is going to be powerful and moving and emotional, and something that I really am going to like, because I was interested, like, what's going to happen after a certain point, you know? What is he going to do? What is she going to do? I mean, it's not that, I really did like Noah's character. I really did like him. I feel like I gravitated towards him because he is defying everything that she stands for.
Yeah, he's basically not the typical romantic guy.
Yeah, he's kind of rebellious.
And he's not taking no for an answer, but at the same time, he's not disrespectful. He's not disrespectful. He's stern. He's a respectable man at the same time, with enough ambition and want to get. If he needs to get something he wants, he will definitely work for it.
Oh yeah,
he's a working man.
He is a working man, and he.
You know what's really interesting too about Noah? I don't know if I mentioned this or not, but this is Ryan Gosling's basically first big main film.
All right, this is why you put this movie on another level.
Yeah. A lot of people. But prior to this, the only two other things that I really could think of that I seen Gosling in was Goosebumps, which was in the original TV series. If you watched that in the 90s, he was in Goosebumps. And then the other one was the movie we already reviewed, which was Remember the Titans.
Oh, yeah.
And that was basically his other really big film. Yeah. He was like a side character. This was his first big role.
This is an adult Ryan Gosling doing adult things.
Yeah, he possibly may have been in other films, and he may have even main character possibly other films, but the thing is, this is the one that got him over. This is the movie that made him the star he was. It's also made him the lover boy, and a lot of he got the Leonardo DiCaprio Titanic Jack kind of.
This is probably why I hated Ryan Gosling as a kid, because every little 8th grade girl that I fucking went to school with was just drooling over Ryan Gosling. Like, man, fuck Ryan Gosling.
He's not real. That guy. He's not real.
I was like, you know what's cool? Fucking Hugh Jackman from.
I I fucking love the Wolverine.
Like, goddamn it.
Motherfucker has blades out of his hand.
Like, what does this Ryan Gosling guy got to offer than Hugh Jackman?
He doesn't even have a hairy chest.
Like, who is this guy?
Yeah,
I saw another movie.
Speaking of X-Men.
Oh, fucking... We're not there yet, Sean. We're not there yet.
Okay, so
moving past...
the second half.
We're getting to, like, the second half and moving forward with the movie. We get into the... into kind of life without...
She's leaving.
Yeah. Well, it turns out that the parents are just, like, immediately like, no, you're not going to be with this kid. You're not going to be with this guy because he's poor and he can't support you at all. So they're just like, we're gonna leave, and we're gonna leave.
They leave very quickly too.
They're gonna leave in like a week.
No, they left that day.
They left. It was like, it that day?
Yeah, they left that day.
They left. I thought it was like a week or.
No, because she said, "No, we're packing your bags. We're leaving today." And she's like, "Oh, I thought we had a week." It's like, "No."
Oh,
today.
Really?
That's why she went to go rather than tell him that she left.
Oh,
by the time he got there, they said, "Adios, amigo."
Fucking tells you how much I paid attention. So what happens is that she's just like, she starts scrambling. She's like, I gotta go find him. I gotta go see what happened. And she goes to where he works, and it finds out that his best friend comes up and tells her, like, I spoke to him last night. This is it. You just count it as a loss and move on. And she's just like, well, can you tell him something? And then she's like, yeah, I'll tell him. Tell him that I love him. And so he's just like, okay. And he's like, well, I'm leaving. And then she gets in the car and she leaves. And what happens is that his best friend, Noah's best friend, tells Noah that she loved him and that she's leaving. And Noah, in a frenzy, completely gets in his truck and tries to go chase after her and goes to her home and to find a vacant home, pretty much. So what happens here is that Noah counts his losses, and it turns out that Noah gets enlisted, or he lists himself in the army, and it finds out that while being in the army, he enlisted with his best friend, and they go into an army together. And what happens is that during war, and a brutal fucking scene, by the way, it turns out that his friend got killed in war.
Very unfortunate.
Really unfortunate.
While this is going on at the same time, I believe Allie's working for a hospital where she's tending to a bunch of soldiers.
That's right. I forgot about that. Allie's working for a hospital, and she is tending to wounded soldiers who were fighting in the war. You know, to be honest, I don't know what war they were fighting in. They were fighting in a war.
I think it was... Yeah. If it's 1950, probably one of the world wars.
World War II was it?
Probably World War II.
No, World War II ended in 45.
Maybe the Cold War?
There was never a shot fired in the Cold War. There was never a shot fired in the Cold War.
There's no Vietnam War because that's like in the 80s. It's a war.
It was a war. I don't know what specifically.
Maybe it was 1930s the movie's based off. Who knows?
No, it's the 50s.
I don't know what war it was then.
Okay, so this is a fictional story. There's a war. He went to war. He got his best friend died, and then now Allie is tending to wounded soldiers, and it kind of turns out that this guy who was really fucked up, she just kind of she felt attracted to, and she
not while he's fucked up.
Well, he helps her. She helps him to recover, and then her and her friends start gossiping like, do you know who he helped? Well, that's a really rich guy, and it turns out that he was kind of eyeballing her. He's just like,
he was like a military soldier.
Yeah, so Allie is starting to kind of date, kind of fall for this military guy. And what was his name, Sean?
His name...
He's Cyclops. That's what I know.
Cyclops!
That's fucking Cyclops. Cyclops.
His name was Lon Hammond Jr.
Lon Hammond Jr.?
That was his name.
We're going to call him Lon. That is one hell of a name.
That's a hell of a name. So I never knew he even called himself that. Shit, that's a hell of a name.
That was one hell of a name. So, Lon starts to get attracted to Allie and find out that Lon is actually a very, very, very rich man. He's really powerful, really rich, and he starts kind of dating her. He starts dating Allie, and it's kind of like going back and forth where we see Noah.
Oh, he's suffering at this
He's
point.
really suffering.
He decides to come back from the military, and he decides to purchase the dream home.
Well, his dad had sold the house that they were living in to pay
for that house,
for that property, and they end up buying it. And Noah's just like, "Well, I'm not gonna let you do this." Like, sorry, I already did it. And he's just like, "Well, where are you gonna live?" Like, it's like, "With you, idiot. I'm gonna live with you. We're gonna fix it up together, and you can have your own house." And Noah's like, "Oh, okay, cool." And as they were fixing it up, he just kind of Noah gets more and more frustrated, and it's kind of unfortunate because what happens here is that his dad dies.
Yeah, and you find out that he's building the house, and the idea of him building a house was based off that he was hoping that one day, if he builds the house enough, that he would find Allie.
Yeah.
That's what he was going to build it to sell it, but he wanted to build a dream home that Allie always wanted.
So he pretty much became obsessed with this idea.
Losing his father as well didn't help.
It's all signs are horrible right now for Noah. And he lost his best friend, his dad, and the love of his life.
At this point, at the same time, Allie has just been proposed to by John.
Is it Lon?
Oh, it's Lon. Yeah, Lon.
So
Lon's proposed to her. The family, Allie's family's all approved of it.
So it seems things are going well for Allie. And Allie's family approves of this man because he's rich and he's able to support Allie. And
he's of their class. Yeah,
they're of the same class actually. So we find out that after Noah completes this house, he goes on this. He starts trying to sell it, and it's really odd because he gets a lot of buyers, and people are willing to pay for the asking price, which he's offering, or even more of the asking price, and Noah kind of sees this as, I don't know if it's disrespectful, I guess, to his own standard, that he ends up shooing everybody away. He's like, no, I'm not going to take your offer, pretty much to everyone. And he ends up living in that house, and one day he was going to get he took a bus into town, and he had saw somebody walking on the street, and he just immediately knew who it was, and he immediately jumped off this bus in a crazy fringe, and he chased that woman who he knows in his heart who he is, like almost getting run over, and he goes into like where she had entered, and he had found Allie with another man.
Yeah, heartbreaking.
Yeah, just destroyed his heart. And from here, where do we go, Sean?
From here we go to so that happens. He sees her and him. He's basically still building the home, but he's kind of given up, I guess, in a certain sense. He's now meeting up with a widow. Yeah. Unfortunately, her husband had passed away in the military, so they nurture each other in their loneliness. Yeah. And while this is going on, Allie has now her wedding is coming up, and they're very excited. And basically, she was trying on dresses, and as she's trying on dresses, she finds in the newspaper that Noah is in the newspaper selling a house. And this is the first time Allie's seen Noah, because Allie hasn't seen Noah in 7 years. Mm-hmm. So she can't believe it. So she kind of hits cold feet. She's kind of very confused. She doesn't know what to think. Why are all the emotions coming back? Yeah. She's not necessarily sure where this is going. Yeah. So she decides for herself. She goes to her soon-to-be husband, mm-hmm. and she lets him know, hey, I need to take this trip. I just need some time away. And he's kind of confused. He's like, is there a particular reason why? Why are we necessarily doing this? Or is she doing this? And she says she just needs this time away. And he asks, is there anything I should be worried about? She tells him, there's nothing to be worried about. So she decides, you know what? I'm going to go see him. I'm going to go see this house, see how he is. Yeah. When she gets there, she sees him. And as they kind of see each other eye to eye, you can definitely tell it was immediate. That's that magical moment that you get in movies. at Spark. Her heart racing. She can't believe it. She feels like she's stupid. He can't believe it to the point where he covers his eyes to make sure is that her? Who is that?
Couldn't believe it.
He couldn't believe it. He built the house. She came to it. It was basically a magical dream moment. So she tries to leave. That doesn't work. Obviously, she crashes. That's for another point. Breaks the hell out of his fence. Fuck. Anyway, so she breaks the hell out of his fence. She drives. He just says he invites her in. They start to kind of communicate with each other. Understand, that how have they been? She tells him, she's getting engaged. He says, okay, well, there's no problem with us being friends. Yeah. I'm okay with that. So they're trying to get like a communication going and being friends and having a good time, and they're drinking with each other. Kind of awkward stuff happens. Obviously, the piano that they have made love next to, he still owns, which is kind of weird.
Yeah.
But they're basically kind of getting communication back with each other. Their friendship is growing once again, so she's pretty happy. She leaves. Her soon-to-be husband, Lon, tries to contact her. She talks to him. He called her 100 times, and she didn't answer. So because of that, she kind of says, I'm not really coming back soon. I'll be back, and I'll let you know. I'll call you. So she goes back to seeing Noah, and as she keeps getting to know Noah, they're kind of having a good time, learning more about each other. He takes her to the lake, to where we kind of get this magical moment with beautiful geese, basically, surrounding the area in the lake with long trees in the water. These geese are
romantically beautiful.
Basically, in a linear passage through the water. Beautiful. I'm not going to lie, beautiful.
Yeah.
As they're going through the water, they're basically with each other. Him and her are basically finding that love that they once found before, but it's coming through their friendship. It's organic. It's something that happens when two friends, I guess, at a certain level, realize they're meant for each other in a sense, I guess.
Yeah.
So we get to the point where they're having such a good time just talking to each other. The rain starts to fall on them, and as the rain falls,
and she gets upset with him.
She gets upset with him because as the rain falls, they realize the music hits, and they're laughing at this rain because she wasn't trying to get wet. And they just both understand each other at this point. They both know what's happening. And he takes the boat to get him out of the water. It's a pretty vicious storm, let's be honest.
Yeah.
But as she takes him out of the water, you recognize that there's a frustration in Allie. And she's frustrated at him because she told him that she waited for him for 7 years. And in those 7 years, he never tried. And he told her that he sent 365 letters every day for a year. 360, that means a letter a day.
Yeah.
And
crazy son of a bitch.
Basically, they were crazy for each other. And she told him that she couldn't do it, that, things are different now. And he says, no, they're not. They're not different. They're still the exact same way. And they kiss each other, finding their love again. Obviously, they kiss each other to the point where they make love. You find this pureness and this love that they are for each other. She is now made love to him. They're really happy. She's sleeping there. Yeah. She wakes up to the knock at the door. She walks up to the door. She opens it, and she sees that her mother is at the door. And basically, her mother explains to her that she's got to make a choice because she's already informed her husband, Lon, that she's cheating, or she's cheating on him,
pretty much. And
she's got to make a choice, and who is it going to be? Basically, that she's fully informed.
Yeah.
Noah, it's either going to be Noah or it's going to be Lon.
So, and
she has a discussion with each of them to decide who she's going to decide to be with.
So let's kind of dive into this. So
that's basically just the second half of the film.
Yeah. So this is where I started to kind of get disinterested.
Really?
Well, not necessarily that, like, I mean, like, I got built up to these characters that are so, like, almost perfect, and, like, could relate to, and then I got kind of drawn away from, in a sense where it's just, like, everything's starting to get perfect. It's almost like we have these perfect scenes and perfect moments. I mean, they were always destined to each other, and there's no conflict that they really have. I mean, there is conflict, but it's like, I already know the end game. I already know that they're going to be with each other, and probably this guy and Meredith and all the people that they surrounded themselves with almost don't matter.
Mm-hmm.
So you see what I'm saying?
I see what you're saying in a certain aspect, yeah.
So like, it's like I really can't draw myself to kind of relating to them anymore. You know?
Okay, I see what you're saying.
So like for the instance where they're in that beautiful geese scene where there's thousands of geese by them, I mean.
By the way, that's a really nice setup for a cinematographer.
That is a beautiful scene.
That's really hard to manage to pull off.
That's probably
using different angles from high to low to
that's
wide
probably one of the
to tight.
most beautiful scenes in the movie. Like you said, just like beautifully.
Really interesting if you think about how did they even set that up.
Edited together like thousands of keys, and it's just almost too perfect.
Okay, I can see what you're saying from that standpoint. It just feels to a point unrealistic.
Yeah.
It feels unrealistic, just the amount of factors and destiny that this cheesy movie's now becoming.
Yeah, it's I wouldn't say it's necessarily cheesy, but it's kind of like what happens to people after their first love breaks up and what they go through, and whatever line they choose to go down draws into that. But when they get placed back together, that's where I just kind of get disinterested, and where it almost becomes too perfect, and I know what's going to happen.
Because you don't think that typically is what realistically would happen.
I don't think that realistically happens. I mean, it could, and I'm not saying that it's not going to happen, but in certain situations, and I feel like in most situations, it's not going to happen that way. It's almost too perfect, you know?
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I can see what you're saying.
And no matter, like, no matter how crazy life can get you and what fucking punches life throws at you, it's almost impossible that this might happen up. I mean, I feel like a real life Allie wouldn't drive, I don't even know how long away to go and see her first love. I mean, you're kind of looking at me like you got something to contradict me.
No, honestly, to be honest, I mean, I totally see what you're coming from.
Oh,
from
really?
There. Yeah,
okay.
I mean, in a way, this is the best way I can put it.
Yeah.
In a way, I think you're definitely right. I think that this is what really happens.
Yeah.
They're hard. In certain aspects, they are relatable characters.
Yeah.
From the arguments to him telling her, what do you really want? That is really what happens in relationships.
Yeah, yeah. I love.
He doesn't beg for her back.
Yeah.
He tells her, you need to make a choice.
Yeah.
And you're being very selfish for what you're doing to me and him. He's not telling her what she needs to hear. He's telling her what he's basically telling her what he thinks she should hear.
Yeah.
Not what she needs to hear. He's telling her the truth. Mm-hmm. Sometimes that's what life needs. He needs the truth. Now, I like that. But obviously the geese and, other factors of her driving up and him building the house and destiny, putting them back together, that's very hard to relate to because you've never seen that before myself. But it happens to people. Some people find their true love.
Sometimes it happens.
And they find ways to get back with each other.
And I'm not being cynical. I'm saying it does happen. No. I'm just saying it doesn't happen.
I definitely agree with you. I think the best way I can put it is I like it.
Yeah.
And the reason why
and that's perfectly fine.
I like that idea just for the fact that destiny and unrealistic, basically, attraction that two people get back to each other. It's the idea of hope.
Yeah, exactly.
And
that's exactly what I was thinking.
And you don't really get that. And the fairy tale ending, but with such very close to realistic characters.
Mm-hmm.
You definitely tell the director and writer were trying to make these characters as closely relatable as possible.
Yeah.
While at the same time being unrealistic.
Yeah, trying to throw that.
But the story is so heavily driven that at the same time you feel like it's possibly relatable.
Mm-hmm.
If you were to put yourself in those shoes, if you were to put yourself in situations where, for example, Renee, if you loved somebody, and somebody you had loved for a long period of time, and she were to show up one day at your doorstep, and you don't know why she's there, what are you to do? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You had been waiting for her for all these years.
If that happened
you had
to me,
never recovered, and you never recovered from it.
Oh yeah.
It's easy to say one thing, but at the same time, if you've been in those situations, I guess it's hard to make a decision. It's possible for these things to happen, just not in the events of Goose Lakes and beautiful, huge houses.
Yeah,
unless you're rich.
And where she just does almost anything for him.
Yeah.
And he's going to do almost anything for
her. I think
her.
from a narrative standpoint, though, I definitely like how the story's been being built up, though. I mean, we got from a breakup, which is in our first half of the film, and in our second half of the film, we have these two completely living their own lives. Mm-hmm. And I like that you see how he's working his way up, and he's not really making a big income. He's just working on a house.
He became a man.
Yeah.
From a boy to a man.
From a boy to a man. And you see from her, I remember she finished his education. We kind of skipped past that, but she had finished her college education, and she got all that done. So, in a sense, she had moved on. I guess she became working on the business of her father, father's business of some sort, I'm guessing she got associated with. And that's how she made her income. Or maybe at that time, she was just making money from her family, and she was good with that. So she didn't necessarily have to work. But yeah, from a narrative standpoint, I kind of like how these characters aren't just, seeing each other for every couple instances, and they're falling in love, and he needs to see her, and they're holding hands, and they are trying to find a way to get away with each other. They're not even trying to do that. They're looking at the realistic problems in their life. One is engaged. The other one has been waiting for a very long period of time, but he's not crazy. Yeah. To the point where he says, "Love me." He says, "Okay, we'll just be friends and see where things go." Obviously, he knows you came back for a reason. Yeah. But he's not going to push upon that unless you push upon that.
Exactly.
So I like that.
Yeah.
I like those kind of things that are put back together.
Like you said, I love that unrealistic standard because it does give me hope. It gives me hope that
I think it's good for people. It's a good thing for people that you've got this idea of hope.
You get this perfect idea.
Now, I think that at this point, it is really interesting, the idea of two people.
Loving two people?
Loving two people.
Okay.
I think that does definitely happen.
Oh, yeah.
And sometimes it's very sad because it does happen to people. And people do get hurt.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure there's many, many situations where people have had an ex or have a current ex engaged fiance or have a husband. Yeah. And this happens to them. Yeah. And imagine what people have to go through in this situation.
Yeah, it's not good. It's probably really nasty.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of how I feel about the second half of the movie.
What did you think about the production of it?
The production?
Because if you think about it,
I think that house is beautiful.
If you look at the first half of the film, we're just introduced basically it's like a nursing home.
Yeah.
It's really beautiful.
Yeah.
But in the second half of the film, we're shown a military, we're shown vehicles, we're shown basically a whole bar sequence, dance club sequence.
These producers have some money.
They must have a lot of money.
They have some money to spend on certain things. I mean, I don't think they're on sets.
Their budget was $29 million.
That's incredible.
Right.
If I had $29 million to make a movie,
but $29 million considering everything they had, that's
money well spent.
Money well spent. I think it really fits, and there's a lot of basically production changing from military, and I think it's a snow sequence too when they're in the military.
They're in the snow.
They're in the snow, so they completely had to change that up.
They had
the
to go
rain
to fucking
sequence.
Alaska or something.
Yeah. The rain sequence itself, where it's like pouring. I was actually talking to Renee about this, so I'm pretty sure they did it in post. They edited it to seem dim, and then they used I forgot what it's called.
Oh, what specifically are you talking about?
For how they get the rain.
Oh, the rain? I think I've seen it one time, like in a documentary. It's literally like some crane where they throw sprinklers on top of that crane, and it just sprinkles like this authentic rain. And I heard an old Hollywood trick, and I don't know if it's true. It might be a myth. I might just sound like a fucking motherfucker, but they throw milk in the water, in the rainwater, to make it look more thick.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because just rain by itself, it doesn't look like anything. But they throw milk in the water to make it look more thick. That's what I've heard. But it's literally like a fucking sprinkler on top of her crane, and it's just sprinkling down onto
I'm guessing it's
set.
Very sporadic to create that effect. I also hear they use fans to kind of push the water back into their faces.
Yeah.
So it feels like you're feeling the pressure of the storm.
Yeah, it just looks like it sucks. I can only imagine working on a set like that, and that would be fucking
it's
horrible.
crazy because you definitely know this is not like an effect.
Yeah.
This is legit. They're using some sort of crane of some sort because they're drenched.
Oh yeah, they're just fucking drenched in water.
Yeah,
it's milky water.
I don't know. I just thought that was really cool. I like to see that in movies. Yeah, when they can change sets so quickly. You know, especially in a movie like this, you don't expect the production to be so big.
Yeah.
So when they're changing location like that,
their production's everywhere.
Yeah.
The fucking war.
The war is just such a big jump. It's cold.
Yeah.
Snow, and then we come to rain, and then you got the beautiful lake,
sunsets.
You got a mansion. You got
fucking Geese River.
Yeah, Geese River. It's really really crazy to think about it.
Yeah, this movie's fucking incredible.
Yeah. So we're going on. This is the conclusion of the film.
To pretty much conclude,
what does Allie do?
What
does Noah do? What happens?
On the next time with Dragon Ball Z.
Next episode of
Dragon Ball Z.
No, so basically, she has to make a decision. Now, it is who you exactly think it is.
Oh, yeah.
It was Lon. Yeah, Lon. You know, man, I don't blame her. Lon was better looking. He had made already the first X-Men film.
You know, I was literally going on to what you said.
Really?
I was a genuine that I just gave you. I was literally shocked at what
really happened. Right?
If she chose Lon, man,
it probably does happen in life.
You know what? That probably
does happen in life.
Security money. Yeah. So it happens that after this scene where she talks with her mother, and her mother tells her that her first love was this man who was poor, and was this first man who was poor, and that her grandfather was absolutely furious about. And she explains to her daughter that she absolutely loves her father, and she has to really understand that that Allie's mother really does love her father. And so from here, we go on to Allie talking to Lon, and Lon's explaining to her, I can do 3 options. I can shoot him, I can fight him, or I can let you go. And he's like, you know what? The saddest part about this situation is that
he doesn't win.
He doesn't win in any of those choices. And fuck, goddamn. Anyway, so
he's a great fucking guy.
So what had happened?
I like that a lot too.
Yeah, I that completely changed my outlook on Lon. So what had happens here is that she drives up to his house, and Noah's sleeping, and he wakes up, and he puts some fucking covers over himself, and he goes out, and he sees Allie at the bottom of his house with 2 suitcases, and she's just like, I'm here. And so they go up, and he goes downstairs, and he welcomes her, I guess you could say.
Yeah, he welcomes her, and because of that, we actually go to basically the future, and we have been basically following these two older people to find out that that's Noah and that's Allie.
Yeah.
And the reason why he's telling her the story is because Allie has lost her memory.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't know who her children are. She doesn't know who anybody is. She doesn't even know who Noah is. So when she asked Noah, what happens? Noah doesn't tell her the end of the story. She remembers.
She remembers the end.
And every time he reads that journal to her, she remembers everything.
Yeah.
So she remembers kind of come back together for this moment of, happiness.
Yeah.
And they kiss, and they are so happy with each other. And as they kiss, things are really great. They're dancing together. This is a beautiful moment. Unfortunately, with beauty comes basically sadness, and she forgets who he is.
Yep.
While in his arms, and she freaks out, and the doctors have to come and basically, is it sterilize her?
They
sedate her. They sedate her. And they sedate her. He has a heart attack because of so much sadness.
Yeah.
So he has a heart attack. She is basically goes back to her room.
Yeah.
They basically put her like in a wheelchair, and they put her with like the rest of the.
I guess people who have gone.
Basically, people who have Alzheimer's and don't know where they're at. She put her in a room, and you can just see just the sadness, the despair of her life, not knowing what she's even thinking. Not knowing where she at, who she is, or what's going on. Just the complete fear.
Yeah.
And as this happens, Noah wakes up after getting to the hospital. Fortunately, he's okay from the heart attack.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes to find Allie. The nurse lets him go see Allie. She's kind of hinting at it. She doesn't really let him go. She just says she's going to get coffee. She'll be back.
Yeah.
He goes, sees her in her bed. And as he goes and sees her in her bed, Allie has returned to herself.
Mm-hmm.
And she sees him, and she says, "Let's go to sleep." They sleep together, basically symbolizing they basically work together for their final time as they fall asleep into death. It's very sad. Yeah. Kind of a really sad ending, to a film. And that basically concludes the end of the film. We go to credits, and that's the end of their love story. To death do us part.
To death do us part. Okay, I just want to say, you say that's really sad. I think that is the ultimate form of love.
Oh yeah.
You find your high school sweetheart. You live your life. You have children. You get this big house, and then you grow old and you die together. That is the ultimate form of love. That's that whole Romeo and Juliet type of situation.
Romeo and Juliet didn't die of. They died of young age.
They died together in love. Okay, so I think that's fucking beautiful.
Okay.
So you know what? That kind of restored my faith in this movie. Because this movie was driven on hope, and it was driven on. Love kind of conquers all. Your first love, there's nothing that can conquer to it. There's nothing that you can pretty much draw to. There's no one that could be on the same level as your first love. And that's kind of like what it's saying is this, like, there's this hope that love does exist. And there's this also hope that that love can live on forever, no matter what, even through death. And that's kind of what I'm concluding here. So yeah, that's what I'm kind of summing it up to be. What about you, Sean?
Yeah, I see it in a sense. Before I get into that, I do want to say something. Their life, if you think about it, they really got no breaks. Whatever life they had as soon as they got back together is probably their best moments.
Yeah.
Because the ending is so unfortunate.
Yeah.
Because they could not really grow old and live together. Because she didn't even know who he was.
Yeah.
She had lost all.
And that was another thing I was thinking. He fought so hard for her.
He fought so hard for her, and then he got her to lose her, to never give up on her.
Yeah. But that's another beautiful thing, too. Because, like...
It's a really nice thing.
For him to do anything for her, for him to stay by her side. No matter what. Even when she doesn't even know who he is. To stay by her side, that's beautiful itself. And that's just saying another aspect that love does conquer anything.
It's terrifying.
It is terrifying.
If that were to happen to me...
if that were to happen to my wife...
Yeah, man, that would just be... awful.
I don't know what I would do.
Yeah, that'd be probably a major fear for sure.
Yeah.
If I were to look at the film as a whole, at the end, the conclusion of the film, I think the ending is absolutely, as Renee said it multiple times in this podcast, perfect. In a perfect sense of, it's the perfect conclusion to this film.
Yeah.
I really like that we saw them from a young age, from the age of 17 to 24, all the way to the end of their lives. We didn't get to see, we're chopping pieces up and we're putting them together. By the time we get to the end, it feels like it's a little bit hidden way too close to home.
Why do you say that?
I feel like it hits really close to home. The idea of that deep of love to the end. I think that young love and adult love, you see it multiple times in films.
Yeah.
You see it, it's cool. I mean, you relate to it in a certain sense, but at a certain point, you're not going to hit that far. But once you go into like this deep, elderly love where they've been together for years, it's that moment where it hits you, daggers you in the heart.
Yeah.
Because if they've been married 40, 30 years, it's like there's a lot of commitment here. Yeah. And the passion between those two is something immeasurable. Those two people have some sort of dedication to each other that, if those two people pass away, it's like, or something happens to them, it's devastating.
Yeah.
Because that is the true thing,
That's
like,
love.
When you go to a movie theater, just for example, you go to a movie theater, me and Renee once went to watch Blade Runner 2049 at the Dollar Cinema. The Dollar Cinema.
Oh, yeah.
One day may it return.
R.I.P.
Anyway, so yeah, give a shout out to the Dollar Cinema at. There's no shout out. It's gone.
No shout out. It's fucking gone.
Poor guys. Anyway, so we went to go see Blade Runner 2049 the final day the Dollar Cinema closed, and when we were watching the film, at the end of the last 15 minutes of the movie, an older couple, probably in their 70s or 80s, walked in.
Yeah, legit old.
Walking together, they sat down. He bought her some popcorn. He was dressed real fancy. She was dressed real nice.
Yeah.
And it was like they were on like an old school date. And as I was watching that, I looked to my left and I saw that. And they only came for the last 15 minutes. And then they left as soon as the movie ended. But not as soon. They just kind of sat there together. And they got up and left.
Yeah.
And I kind of thought to myself, maybe I'm overanalyzing things, but they got the opportunity to maybe relive one of their moments that they had with that movie or that theater, of the years they could have been together. And maybe I probably definitely am overanalyzing these things, but at the same time, I don't know. When you see something like that, when you see an elderly couple that have been together for many, many years, it's just different. That's a little bit too much. Because paying to see those kind of people affected, that's something that you just can't. I can't not sympathize.
Oh yeah.
It hits me hard.
Yeah.
I mean, I could imagine myself if I was married to a woman for 30, 40 years and to lose something like that. It's just, that's devastating, man.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, and unbelievable is a good way to put it as well. Other than that, man, I think it's a really good film. Yeah, it's a powerhouse, I think. When you think of romance films, this is... Okay, no question, it might not be the best, and it might not be for everyone. That's definitely true. Yeah. But at the same time, it is a iconic film in a sense where it's not forgettable. Yeah. You see this movie, and it stays with people. People think romance films, Notebook is got to be in that list somewhere, unless you've not seen it. Now, does that mean it's the best? It doesn't mean it's the top 10 best romance films of all time. Yeah. I'm not saying that. Renee's not saying that. But I'm saying when you're thinking about just the generally speaking of a romance film, The Notebook generally pops up. Yeah. It is one of those movies that just kind of define the genre. Yeah. So I find that quite interesting. And I also think that this kind of catapults Ryan Gosling into probably the toughest. Probably got him. It was like a plus, but a negative, because in a sense he became the big actor he wanted to be, but at the same time, what they were casting him was for a long period of time just pretty boy roles. Yeah. It took him a long time to get out of that.
Yeah, you just love Ryan Gosling.
Hey, brother, he's great. Yeah. It took me a while to like him. What am I talking about? Remember Titans is great.
Sean, so, yeah, all right. So, any last things?
Yeah, you have any other thoughts you thought about?
It's perfect, but I like perfect. So,
okay.
Yeah. On a realistic aspect, I don't like Perfect, but in a narrative standpoint, I love Perfect. So
yeah, maybe because I like that romance. It's just my kind of forte. Yeah, I dig that.
I don't know if you guys noticed, but I fucking hate romance movies. Like I've said, I've seen them too many times. I'm so sick of them. Michelle was like, "You gotta see it for Valentine's Day," and I was like, "All right, whatever."
Yeah, so, we probably should have brought a woman on this episode, or somebody, just anybody on this episode, but we didn't.
We will one day.
We'll bring another guest on again.
We'll bring another guest. You guys have been waiting for Jake's return, and I know you guys have been waiting for Seth Johnson's return, and trust me, they are coming.
We got a lot more guests coming soon. Maybe we'll even get a celebrity guest.
Yeah, we'll get Ryan Gosling himself.
Ryan Gosling, baby.
We'll get him to talk about
He's coming. He's gonna be like dun 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 dun.
He's gonna want to be talking of First Man, but no, we're gonna get him to talk about
this. This is most definitely probably one of our kind of weird. It's a romance film. We're not really chopping it. We're kind of just coming at it from a more dramatic standpoint. Yeah, but I kind of like it.
Yeah, no, this is definitely different. So what I want to conclude with is let us know what you think about this format and if you guys like this. I know you guys, it seems kind of off-putting for us to just, explain the whole movie to y'all. And you know what? If you really like us talking and you really like the sound of our voices... If
you want to really hear our opinions, cool. We're going to kind of try to give you more of our opinions. Just to give you an idea.
Yeah, kind of insides our heads, or the insides of our heads. I hope to do more stuff like this. I hope Sean enjoyed doing it this style. It's a very more opinionated now, and we hope to come off that because we both have we both have opinions. Maybe we don't agree on it all the time, but that's how we are. But yeah, so let us know in a comment, or some of y'all know us personally. Let us know if you like this.
I do want to say one last thing. Yeah. So it did have a budget of $29 million, right?
Oh yeah.
It made $150 million.
God damn it. So
That's
Ryan Gosling.
Box office.
So yeah, just Ryan Gosling's king. Yeah, there's nothing.
No, probably not.
Ryan Gosling is the acting god. So that's what we're gonna leave it with. So this has been the Valentine's Day special. Of the Innsville Twin Amphitheater, and I hope you guys enjoyed listening to us.
And we also hope you had a great Valentine's Day. If you're a single person, well, join us because
plenty of fish to see. If you love her, let her go.
Maybe we'll do Finding Nemo next.
Yeah, we'll do Finding Dory.
Finding Dory.
We'll do a double one where we talk about Finding Nemo while talking.
We'll do Little Mermaid.
What?
She's like, I don't want any more Disney movies.
Hercules is coming to the podcast.
No. Aladdin. Will Smith is Majin Buu.
I can't believe you just disrespected my computer and my microphone with that shit. You know what, Sean?
Alright, that has been our Valentine's Day special, The Notebook. Hope you enjoyed. Hope to hear from y'all soon.